having a chat with you rather soon.
Thank you.
Well, the next stock on our radar is Birlasoft. Remember, yesterday it got a hard knock in trade ahead of its numbers. Now we have the numbers to look at, and also we need to understand what's the impact of Invacare. Remember, they had won a big order from that company and they had filed for bankruptcy. To understand more about that, we're joined by Mr. Angan Guha, the MD and CEO of Birlasoft. Well, good morning, Mr. Guha. Good to chat with you, and congratulations on taking charge of Birlasoft. Well, it appears we have got quite a few aspects to discuss. So let's start off with Invacare first. You had won close to under $240 million order a few years ago. So how much of that is executed, and what was the rough quarterly run rate that we were doing from this particular order?
Yeah, so Nigel, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. Invacare was a deal that we won, and as you know, that was about $240 million. Right now, they have filed for bankruptcy. And we got the notice only about 36 hours ago, right? So we are still assessing, what is the future for Invacare contract. Keeping in mind the good corporate governance, we've at least provided whatever we know we should provide. And that is the way we're going to look forward. But look, for us, please look at our growth outside of Invacare. That's important.
Mr. Guha, before we get to the growth outside of Invacare, we just need some more clarity. First of all, this provision of 151 crores, is this just an interim number right now? Could it go up? And also help us understand, how much revenue had you booked out of that contract? Your sales are quite flat this quarter. Is that because of this Invacare issue?
So, no, that is not because of the Invacare issue. Look, from an Invacare perspective, we typically bill we bill a larger number, but our revenue is roughly about $4 million a quarter. Now, the reason why our revenue was flat is because this quarter was a quarter that had a lot of furloughs, unusual furloughs. And there was a couple of projects that went on hold, and that is the reason why we had a flattish quarter. And it is a seasonally weak quarter. But from an Invacare perspective, look, it's about $4 million worth of revenue every quarter. That is what we take. Right now, the reason we did the provision is because we know from today's perspective, the $19 million of provision that we took is as of today. Now, future, we don't know how the future looks. It all depends upon, we are talking to our lawyers. It all depends upon how the Chapter 11 carries on, and then we will take a call at a later point in time.
All right, Mr. Guha, out of that total 240 million, how much was done? How much is pending?
So, we can't give an exact number for it.
You can give me a rough number.
So, well, it's a 10-year contract, and you know that we've served them for 4 years, so I'm sure you can do the math.
All right, so 240 odd. 240, 10 years, so 24 million, you're going at a run rate of close to around 4 odd. And I think you're only around 5 years into it. So it appears that, close to around 120 odd would be pending and 120 would be, already done. I think that's the rough math. Perfect. Okay, got it. All right. Earlier when we had, the management joining on the show, they were always talking about this big aspirational number of $1 billion of revenue by 2025. At current reckoning, I think you're doing close to around 600 million odd per annum. What's the goal since you've taken over? Do you want to revise that guidance?
So, Nigel, we are committed to delivering industry-leading growth. That's all I can tell you at that point in time. The billion-dollar number that we spoke about earlier, that still stands. The timing may change a little bit because, we have to really assess how Invacare goes. But we are committed to that growth. We are committed to investing in our business. We are committed to investing in our frontline, in our capability, and we will build a growth-oriented business.
Mr. Guha, you've come on fairly recently. You've taken charge. Are there any changes you would like to effect, or you think, the direction, etc., was perfectly set, and that's the way to go? It's just about execution. Are there any strategic changes we should expect?
Yeah, so, Prashant, we are doing a couple of things. One is we will transform the company from a culture standpoint. And that's important to me personally, to make a lot of investments in terms of how do we transform the company, not only from a capability, but the leadership as well as from a culture issue. So To me, all the investments that we will continue to do will be in these three areas. From an execution perspective, I think we've done a good job in execution. We will continue to execute well. But like I said, the investments will continue to happen.
Mr. Guha, just a word on margins. Again, we're just trying to understand the business X of Invacare, because EBITDA margins obviously dipped to just about 0.5%, just northwards of 0.5%. How should we read through? And what do you see as a sustainable margin line, margin rate going forward?
Yeah, so Survi, good question. So, if you really think about it, the Q3 was a quarter which had furloughs. And also we did a lot of investment in terms of building capability, getting in more leadership. And that kind of affected our margins a little bit. I strongly believe 4Q, we will be back on delivering higher margins than 3Q. That I'm confident about. But look, I will continue to do more and more investments in capability, in sales, and all of the stuff that I talked about, including, creating a domain veneer.
Okay.
So, look, I would say that, we want to deliver from a long-term sustainable perspective of 15% EBITDA margins. That is our goal. But I will also tell you this, that we will continue to invest in the business going forward.
Okay, all right. Final question then, and it's more in terms of hiring. The number of employees, your headcount had declined quarter on quarter. Attrition, though, has come down, I think, to around 25%. What's the outlook on both these two parameters?
So look, attrition, I think we've done a great job in terms of our people engagement, which actually reflects on our attrition. I personally feel the attrition will keep going down, and that'll help in our margin uptick as well. From a people addition perspective, again, you must look at it from an overall perspective. Though we will add people, but equally, look, I mean, we are driving a lot of productivity. That obviously helps in the bottom line. So we will continue to do that.
Mr. Guha, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time, and we wish you all the luck to kind of steer the business in the right direction and achieve those aims. That's Birlasoft, a sharp